Yes, I'm having trouble thinking and fully formulating my thoughts. I speak poorly and I find it hard to express myself and communicate my thoughts. And I also find it hard to get the right words out of my mouth. And I'm always searching for words and I get lost in my sentences. If these complaints are made by your students, let me invite you, dear colleagues, to dig deeper in how we can create effective learning experiences for our students to improve their communication skill. Hello, this is Sana Lamtara. Let's agree from the very beginning that effective communication skills are crucial for personality development. Communication allows us to express our feelings, our ideas in the most convincing way in order to deepen our relationships and be socially connected. And this, of course, leads to a feeling of self-satisfaction because of connectedness and because of effective interaction when we are able to talk openly and also when we learn to be good listeners. And remember, listening is also part of communication. And communication is also a soft skill. A soft skill sought from job candidates and professionals who are required to communicate politely, simply and clearly by phone, in writing, or in person. And here, a number of skills are mandatory, like persuasion, negotiation, presentation, public speaking, writing, etc. So let's do our job, dear 21st century educators. Let me introduce you to my favorite listen activity from Becky Norman's piece, 2018. This activity is entitled the Stop Listening exercise. I will introduce it to you in my own way. I mean the way I was able to integrate it in my classes and training sessions. And now let me share a number of instructions with you. Ask your participants to work in pairs, partners A and partners B. Partners A are supposed to speak for 2 minutes about a topic you suggest for them, their family, their hobbies, their likes, dislikes. So this depends on your lesson. Then partners B are supposed to listen very carefully and show all signs of interest with their body language and also with their facial expressions. And now it's time to ask our famous ICQs, the instruction checking questions. Very important to ask those questions since we don't know if our students got the message. So partners A, raise your hand. What are you going to talk about? Partners B, the same thing. Raise your hand. What are you going to do? You can even ask some questions like, are you going to ignore the person you're talking to? No. Are you going to listen carefully? Yes. So this is very important, just as I say, to make sure students or participants understood the instructions. After 2 minutes, you ask participants to stop in order to switch roles. So those who are speaking in the first round should now listen very carefully with interest, and those who are listening in the first round should now speak about one of the topics suggested. And after 2 minutes, you ask participants to stop to give instructions for the next part of the activity. Well, partners A are supposed to speak for 2 minutes, again about something passionate. Then you try to give new information. Then partners B should not listen by showing all signs of being a poor listener, like unwelcoming body language, no eye contact, interrupting, turning the conversation back to themselves, and also getting defensive. And after 2 minutes again, ask participants to stop to switch roles. And the idea here behind role switching is to make participants experience all feelings. The fact of speaking about something passionate while someone is carefully listening to you, or when someone is not listening to you, or is not willing to listen to you. The fact of being a good listener, someone who listens to another person while he or she is speaking, and also the fact of not willing to listen to someone and the fact of ignoring someone who is speaking. After the activity, you, the teacher, the animator, the coach can facilitate a group discussion about the importance of listening. And believe me, there is no better way to understand something than by experiencing it yourself. And then you will get surprised at the participants' reactions because you shake their emotions. And here, participants will certainly refer to the importance of listening and what really indicates that someone is truly listening to you. You see, it's much more interesting to guide and monitor learners towards the construction of their own knowledge. And in case learners lack information, in case they want to learn about type of communication, active listening, etc., this is something they can do themselves. And here we can also talk about autonomy. And remember, your role in the 21st century is to guide your learners towards the creation of a meaningful learning experience. And this is what we have just done. So congratulations. At the end of the video, let me answer a question I know you are all asking. How am I going to implement this listening activity in one of the stages of my lesson? I would say it depends on your lesson and it depends on your objectives. But don't worry, I'll share 2 examples with you right now. Well, the first example concerns a speaking lesson. So I suggest the use of this activity in the production stage of the speaking lesson. Let's say I have just introduced my students to a number of expressions used to express an opinion, like in my opinion, in my point of view, I think, I guess, I reckon, etc. So in the listening activity, students will be able to practice the use of these expressions while expressing their opinions about the given topics. And even when students listen to their partners, it's still good practice because they are listening to someone who is using those expressions while giving an opinion. So this is for number 1. For the second activity, I suggest a reading lesson. Yes, a reading lesson. So I suggest the use of this listening activity in the pre-reading stage. So before introducing your students to a text about types of communication or active listening, this activity is a very interesting option because it does not only introduce the topic of listening to students, but it also lets your students experience the fact of being a good listener, the fact of being a poor listener, the fact of being someone to whom we listen very carefully, or the opposite. So it's all the time interesting to create the need for our students. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. And remember, serving you is my job and it's also my great pleasure. So stay tuned.